Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Yarn Thing podcast with Marley Bird. I'm your host, Marley Bird. You can catch the Yarn Thing podcast live every Tuesday morning at 12 o'clock Eastern time. I guess I had to think about that because I switched it up a little bit. So I'm 12 o'clock on the East Coast. That is 9 o'clock on the West Coast, 11 o'clock in the Midwest, and 10 o'clock if you are in the Mountain Time Zone. So exciting to still be able to have this podcast going for a while. We've been doing it. I think I have to really look it up. I think it's 13 years now. I started in 2007, so it'd be 13 years we're doing the show, and we're having a good time doing it. So it's a lot of fun. Those of you who are new to the show, welcome. We transitioned from an audio podcast to a video podcast a couple of years ago, which I am loving because now I get to actually see the guests and interact. It's like we're actually what would that be? It's the 21st century, right? It's no longer just a phone call. It's like actually see somebody. And so, it's a lot of fun. If you want to make sure that you are, let me rephrase that. If you want to make sure, I guess I didn't rephrase that at all, that you are catching all of the podcasts, be sure to hit subscribe and click that notification bell, and you will be notified whenever I go live on air or when I post a new video to help you become a better knitter or crocheter, because that's what I do here on the Marley Bird YouTube channel. So today I have a new guest. She is a Yarn Thing podcast virgin. I'm so excited to have her here. It's kind of funny because I'm gonna kind of briefly talk about how I met you.
Okay.
It's funny because online I try and find different people that are I'm gonna say quote unquote new, but they're more just new to me. I just don't get out very much. And I'll look around on Instagram and I'll see people who are following other people. Then I'm like, oh, they have cool stuff, and I'll follow them. So I'm following, I'm doing all these things. And then I go to Columbus last year. I think it was Columbus. And I was meeting with one of my friends at Chili's, and this lovely lady comes up and she says hello to me. She introduces herself. And in my back of my mind, I'm like, gosh, she looks so familiar. But I'm like, hi, it's great to meet you. Yeah. And, everything's great. We eat our food. And then I said goodbye to her as we left. It turns out it was Toni. And I had actually already seen you on the internet, and I just didn't put two and two together. And so
I didn't have my face on that day.
Is that what it is?
I wasn't TL Yarn Crafts that day. I was just Toni out to lunch with friends.
Just you. So since then, I've noticed you more and more, because then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, that's her. Yeah. Yep. And then I'm like, okay, so she's on the TV show. She's friends with my friend Ron. Oh, I follow her on YouTube. I follow her on Instagram. Oh, how did I not know her? You know what I mean? And so that is how I was introduced to Toni and TL Yarn Crafts. And I am thrilled that she is on the show today to just talk about her. I want to learn more about you. So this is very much like a first date. Hopefully we have a second one. And I'm very excited to have you here. So welcome, Toni.
And thank you so much for the invitation, Marley. And thank you for remembering that introduction so positively. I was a ball of nerves because at the time, and I tell people all the time, I have this small group of crocheters and instructors that I learned from when I started my business back in 2013, 2015. And you're one of those people. So when I remember that day really vividly, I was out with a friend of mine who was pregnant. She was very, very late in her pregnancy, and we thought this would be the last time we can hang out pre-baby. And I had just come from Joanne and was sitting there kind of talking about some things going on in the store. And I saw you came in with your friend. And I vividly remember having a conversation with my friend, like, oh my God, should I go over there? Should I say something? Am I going to interrupt her lunch? Is this the worst idea ever? And I was like, you know what? I'll regret it if I don't. So I'm really glad. I'm glad that I was able to interrupt your lunch and come and say hi. And now we get to talk today. I
loved it. It was very flattering, but I was like, well, it's nice to meet you too. It was awesome. It was fantastic. So I'm thrilled. You're here. So I really do want to know more about you and your story, because so you started 2013. I started 2007. And it's amazing. How our paths have just kind of been parallel through the years that we've been working together, and we haven't been working together. We're in the same industry, but not together. So tell me how, like literally take me back to the beginning. How did you learn to crochet? Do you knit? And then how did you think to yourself, wow, I think I might want to do that as a career? You know what I mean? Like, and take me through the story.
Absolutely. It's been a roller coaster over the years. So crochet was introduced to me by my mother when I was a teenager. And the short version of the story was, I have two siblings, and over the summers, we typically like break off and go spend time with other family, aunts and grandmas and cousins or whatever. So this was my year to be home with my mom while my two brothers were off doing their thing for the summer. And I was just bored to tears. And I think my mom just got kind of annoyed with her 13-year-old just huffing and puffing around the house. So she put a granny square in my hand and just told me to keep going around and around in a circle. And it eventually became a blanket. So that's where when I learned to crochet over that summer. And it was a really great time for my mom and I to bond and for me to create something with my hands, because I can't think of any way that I was really creative before that. I really loved to read, but I wasn't really into making things. So kind of the years went by. I went into high school and college, and crochet kind of, fell to the wayside. And then in 2010, I moved to Columbus, Ohio with my husband. And I had just graduated from college in the middle of a recession and could not find a job. I searched high and low. I had a master's degree. I had tons of work experience, and I couldn't find anything. So I wandered into the craft store and picked up yarn and a hook again. And that was kind of my motivation. It was kind of a reminder, like, you are capable of things, you can accomplish things. Like, we're having kind of a tough time, but here's something you can do to have a kind of a quick win, which is exactly what I needed. And I just kind of kept it up from there. And eventually, after making tons of hats and scarves for family, they very kindly said, you know what, I think we're good. That's enough. And so I started selling at craft shows, because at that point, crochet was like my thing. I was rooted in it. When I finally did find a job, when I would come home, that's what I did. And yeah, it kind of became my thing, and then eventually transitioned to designing, and that's basically what I do full time now.
I love that story. And it's so many designers that I have met. Their grassroots, like where they all began, is because either they were really rambunctious children and their parents were just trying to like just chill them out, or they were bored,
Mm-hmm.
It's like a combination of all of that. And I can so understand the whole idea of, like, you weren't really crafty, but then it's like, oh, you're creating. And then like there is that sense that you're creating something. My favorite part about knitting and crocheting, it's like there's an excitement process through the whole thing. There's excitement of, oh, I think I'm going to do that. And then, oh, I'm going to go get yarn. What yarn am I going to buy? Then I buy all the yarn, right? And then I'm like, look at all the possibilities. Then, okay, what am I going to design or, make or whatever it is? And then like I changed my mind 5 or 6 times in the middle of a design. And, and then there's that sense of completion. And it's like, okay, that's done. I can move on to the next. And I love that part of it. Is that something that resonates
Absolutely.
with you?
Yeah, there's so many steps to the maker process, and that's something that I really relish about, like, working on personal projects right now, because as a designer, sometimes it starts to feel like work after a while. So you kind of take some of those steps for granted, some of those kind of small victories in the maker process. But when you're making something for yourself, it's like, I can appreciate buying yarn from a really fancy dyer that I've never heard of. I can appreciate working with a new hook that was handmade. I can appreciate that I got gauge on the first try. Like, that little stuff that you kind of don't consider after a while when you design. Like, I appreciate having that kind of in the back of my mind. I can revisit that. And it also helps me, I think, connect with my customers. So when I'm designing, I try to create those small victories within a pattern or within a project, so that you can look back and be like, wow, I really did that. I'm really proud of myself.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So when you started, you said you started doing some craft fairs and such, and which is interesting, because that's how some other people, like I know Tamara started, not with craft fairs, but making items to begin with,
for sure.
Which is super labor intensive. Just,
Yes,
I mean, the whole craft fair aspect of it all. I mean, kudos to all of you who are able to do that. I just don't think I would do that. How did that work out for you? And when was the decision of, I don't want to do that anymore. Like, I want to move on to this.
I still sometimes look back and it's like, where did I have the energy? Where did I find the time? How was I ever so organized? Because now I feel like I'm a Tasmanian devil running around my studio.
Oh my God, yes.
So Craft fairs felt like a really natural transition from, making things for family and friends. And eventually I was like, I still want to make these hats and these scarves and these things. So craft shows felt like a good fit. And at the time, with going to local yarn stores and going to craft fairs, I developed some really good relationships with people who ran these events. So my very first craft fair was, on the surface, it was a bust. It was literally in a church basement. Half of it was a craft fair. The other half was a yard sale, like kind of garage sale. Like it was hot mess express, I'm telling you. So I set all my stuff up. I have no concept of putting colors together. I have no concept of pricing. I don't know how to merchandise. I don't know anything. I have a table with a whole bunch of stuff on it, and I'm just really excited. And I sold one thing, and for some reason, that one sale was like, oh, girl, you got this. You're the best. Like, you could do anything. And it just gave me this level of encouragement. And I had a huge head after that first event. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to learn how to do this. Great. And we're about to make our millions. Now, I never made my millions. Just a heads up for anyone listening to this story. That's not how it went. But I will say, just using that momentum and using that excitement, I was able to better understand how to price my items, how to select the right yarns, how to put the right colors together, how to, create my display with different levels, like that little stuff that you learn over time. So yeah, I loved doing shows. I think I did them for like 4 or 5 years. And I think right around, I think I was maybe like 32 when I did my last craft show. And I remember I was packing up after the show. My feet hurt, my back hurt, my arms hurt, my head hurt, everything hurt. And I was like, you know what? I think I've aged out of this. Like I think I'm done. And I think too, at that point, by the time like I did my last show, I was very firmly into designing, and I was reaping the benefits from that and starting to understand passive income, and just kind of getting a little bit smarter about how I wanted to run my business. So it wasn't like shows ended and now I needed to find the next step. The next step was kind of already there. And I loved doing shows, the camaraderie between sellers and the people who run the shows. Like it's a really great community, and it's a great exposure. It's kind of a trial by fire to figure out if your concept works, if you really want to sell finished pieces. So I definitely encourage it, but I burnt out. I burnt out hard.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of
Yeah.
work. So 2013, that's you jumped in really. Was Instagram was already going on then, wasn't it? Or
2013?
I'm
I
like
think
curious.
so.
So,
Yeah.
so
So if
you're
I occasionally will go back to the beginning of my Instagram. Of course, the first photo is of my cat because I'm a cat lady. That's my thing. But at the time, I was still doing pieces for friends and family, and I think I had maybe done my first few shows by the time Instagram really kind of got popping for me.
okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. So for me, I started and I had a blog, but that was
Mhm.
really it. But then I started sorry, I have something in my throat. The podcast right away. So I was literally the first crochet podcast on iTunes. So I was lucky in that aspect, right? Because
Yeah.
I jumped in there. But then like Facebook came a little while later, Twitter came a little while later. So I mean, I feel like I'm still kind of on this back end of stuff, but my point here is that as you're jumping into your career doing designing, working with companies, you're really elevating the game when it comes to social media. Like you're on point with it, and you do such a good job with that. Was that something that you consciously did, or was like, I'm just really good at that, girl? Like, you know what I mean?
That's it's funny that you asked that. I look at how my Instagram has progressed because I haven't deleted all of the old terrible photos. Some of them are still there. And I think since I kind of got on Instagram on the front end before it got really complicated, and they started making different tiers and different types of profiles and stuff, like I feel like a lot of us were learning at the same time, because Facebook wasn't necessarily a platform that rewarded you for having really beautiful photos and telling a story in that way.
Right.
Facebook at the time was still very text based, and it was about talking about what you were doing all day. So with Instagram, it was kind of the first opportunity for me to be on a platform that rewarded me for taking good photos. And it was a benefit twofold, because at the time I was selling finished pieces, so taking good photos meant I sold more stuff, but also meant I got boosted in an algorithm to get me in front of more customers. So that kind of positive reinforcement helped me understand, like, okay, maybe I need to figure out how to put filters on my photos, or figure out, what the rule of thirds means, because I don't know. So it kind of became a learning process. And I can't say that I'm innately like this natural photographer, but it took a lot of practice. And sometimes it's a bust, and sometimes it does well. It just takes some practice.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
So as you transition out of the crafts or out of the craft fairs, and
Yeah.
you start selling patterns, because I literally don't know how you went. Like,
Yeah.
did you put patterns for sale on your blog? Did you put them for free on your blog? Like, what is your path? The reason I'm asking this, just so that you can kind of get some reference of what's going on.
Mhm.
I know there are other people like you out there who are like, they're in the grind doing the craft fairs, and they're like, I'm ready to transition out. And that's usually one of the big questions I get is, how do I do that? And so,
Sure.
and I always tell them everybody's path is different. Like, the way I do my business is completely different than the way like Mikey does his business, or Tamara
Sure.
does her business, or
Yeah.
Ron does his business. We all work differently, but we all, um, not cooperation, collaboration. It's like a combination of collaboration and cooperation. Like, we all are in this together, but we're
Yep.
all still separate and individual. So everybody's story is different, but I think it's important for people to hear how we all start,
Yeah.
so that's kind of give you an idea of what you're talking to the people.
Yeah, for sure. And I appreciate this question, because everybody's journey is so different. And I'm sure you get questions all the time, like, how do I start my business and what do I do? And I'm like, you literally just have to do it, because everybody's process is so different. So the way that mine worked is, when I started doing craft shows, I didn't have any kind of like major online presence. I was barely on Facebook. I didn't have a shop on Etsy or elsewhere. I didn't have anything like that. So once I started selling at craft shows, people started asking, like, well, I want to get this in these colors, and how can I get that from you? I'm like, okay, well, maybe it makes sense to open up an Etsy shop so people can come get things from there. And so I opened my Etsy shop. And then eventually, when I started transitioning out of craft shows, was because I had designed a hat to sell at shows. I was looking for a very particular type of hat. I wanted a slouchy beanie, thick brim, textured, giant pom-pom. I was very specific. And I searched high and low and could not find a pattern that I loved that met like all this criteria I wanted. So started looking in stitch dictionaries. I started watching a whole bunch of YouTube videos to figure out how I can pull these elements together. And it became my Mega Pom beanie, which was my bestseller at craft shows the entire time I did them. And so, speaking of Instagram, I started posting my hats on Instagram that I was making for shows. And I was like, yeah, this hat's on sale, go buy it. And people were like, no, I don't want to buy it, I want to make it. So how do I do that? And I was like, huh, never really considered that somebody would want to buy. Like, it's literally like my entire business. Like, when I spell it out like this, it's all driven by my customers. These are things that they asked for. So they asked to buy my stuff online, so I made a shop. They asked to buy this hat pattern, so I figured out how to write patterns. I still have the original version of that first hat pattern, and it is so bad. Like, it's the formatting is terrible, and like the way that like my writing style was not good, but they figured it out and they made the hat. And so that's kind of how I transitioned into, kind of got my feet wet with designing. Is I made something for my booth that I wanted, was sharing it on social media, and people asked for it, so I made it available. And that's kind of where it took off from.
I guess I'm on mute. I put it on mute because if I don't put it on mute, it goes back and forth between us. Um, that's awesome. I love the idea. It's very, very organic, but it sounds like it's like, okay, if you are in the craft business, that's not what I mean. Doing craft shows,
Mhm.
maybe start an Etsy shop, maybe have a route. If you don't want to do Etsy, you could do Ravelry. Like, it is there. There's also Love Crafts, and I know there's some other ones out there that you could try out, but I mean, just kind of taking that step forward and being present on social media. And I don't know about you, but for me, I have to keep my social media separate. Like, I have my own personal Facebook page, but then I have my business Facebook page. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not personal on my business one, but I'm selective with what I share on my business one. But it's a separate thing. So if you are out there doing craft shows, and maybe you're going by, I don't know, Mary Wright, and you want to be like, but my designs are Loopy You or whatever. And so
Yeah.
you want the Loopy You Facebook page, you know? I don't know. I think that's really the first step. I love that your audience is like, no, I want that. I want that.
Yeah.
Is that really
Yeah.
how you've designed everything since then of, what are you guys looking for? Or how does, here's the best question ever. What's your design process?
Yeah. That is, oh gosh, that question is always so hard because
right?
it's like you want me to tell you this very organized step-by-step system, and it's literally never like that.
It's a hot mess. That's what it is. The design process is a hot mess that is covered up and looks pretty when it's all done. Right?
Exactly. We're very intentional about those things. It's like, you know what, and that's why I often like I do live streams on my social media.
I know, and I love those so much. I watch them whenever I can.
It's so fun. And I feel like that's my opportunity to kind of straddle the line between Toni and TL Yarn Crafts. Like that's where it comes together. Because when I'm going live, it's like I don't know what's about to come out of my mouth. So you're getting Toni all day, every day.
I so know.
So as far as my design process, I would definitely say that my audience is very much involved in driving my design process. I've come to establish kind of what my aesthetic is and who my customer is and what she wants to make, what she wants her home to look like, what she wants to gift to friends, what she wants to wear. So those are the things that I focus on designing. And occasionally if I get kind of a block and maybe I'm like, I don't have any idea what to make next, I'll just poll my audience and I'll put up a question on Instagram and I'll say, hey, what do you guys want to make in the next few weeks? Do you want to make a bag? Do you want to make a blanket? Do you want to make a cardigan? Do you want to make a shawl? Like, let me know. And then from there, the inspiration kind of starts to flow because people are very, very open and willing to tell you what they want and what they think. So if I get a lot of people saying, yeah, we really want like a summer mesh cardigan, which is exactly what happened to me last year. I released my sandbar cardigan. It did really well because that's what they said they wanted. That's what I gave them. And there it goes. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. That's, it's hard because like for me, I'll ask and then I try and remember, oh yeah, I got to do that. But then my mind is like on 10 different things. Then I forget. Yeah. And so then I have Caitlin. She's like, remember when you said? I'm like, oh, that's right. Okay, I got to go back and do that. Because
I need a Caitlin in my life. I need one because I feel like sometimes I say things and commit to things and then people are like, hey, you remember 6 months ago when you said you were going to put this pattern out or make these edits? And I was like, do you remember what you said 6 months ago? Because I do not.
I know, right? I know. I'll have a talk with Caitlin and she like pulls out like her big notebook. She's like, all right, so here's what we get to talk about. And I'm like looking for Post-it notes or something. I'm like, all right, okay, what do we got? Like she is so key to keeping me organized. But I mean, I know my strengths, right? I know what my strengths are. She has great strengths that are not my strengths. And that's what makes us a great pair. So you absolutely need a Caitlin in your life. She's great. So here you are, you're designing, you're doing great things. Your Instagram followers are getting higher. And when did you decide, you know what, I feel like I want to teach people like, okay, so I'm making stuff. I've written patterns out, but I really want to teach people. And one of the best ways to do that is through video, through YouTube, which you have an outstanding YouTube channel. Not going to lie, super jealous about some of your highest video counts. I'm like, oh man, how do I get that?
Don't ask me because I don't know. I've literally done them all the same. And some of them do really, really well. And some of them that I think are going to do well are like duds. I'm like, you know what? I don't know. Just throw whatever at the wall and see what sticks. Seriously.
Yeah, that's really how it is. So tell me about your video journey.
Sure. So what inspired my launch onto YouTube was actually, it started at Vogue Knitting Live, which is a yarn conference for Vogue's knit arm of their magazine. And I learned Tunisian crochet from a woman at Vogue. And I was like, wow, this is something I've never seen before. This is so cool. It's an aspect of crochet that I mean, if I haven't seen it, there's got to be a lot of people that haven't. And I just started falling in love with this technique. And I was like, I need everybody to know about this. And I need it on a bigger platform than just Instagram. I need everyone to see this. So that, so my absolute beginner's guide to Tunisian crochet is my very first video on YouTube, because I was kind of riding that wave of learning this new technique. And I released a whole bunch of Tunisian crochet videos in a short amount of time, probably in about 3 months. And that really is what kind of catapulted my presence on YouTube, and kind of helped me understand how good like a series of videos on the same topic kind of back to back can be. And from there, I just kind of tried to streamline what I put on YouTube. After that kind of thing, things went a little bit off the rails, and I didn't have much of a plan as far as what type of videos I was going to put on that platform. But once I got back to kind of the teaching and the educating, showing patterns step by step, showing stitches, showing techniques, those are the things that really performed well on my channel. And then besides that, you know, once I was able to get it monetized and kind of looked at how the numbers were moving within my business, I was like, wow, this is like really lucrative, and kind of gets me towards my goal, which was very far down the line at the time, was to eventually quit my job. I eventually wanted to do this full time. And I was like, I think YouTube could be a platform to help me do that. But yeah, I kind of got this itch to teach, and I wanted to teach this very specific thing. And then people kept commenting, and they're like, oh my gosh, we can't wait for more videos. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to do more videos. So, okay, we're just,
so I laugh because I so understand.
I was like, whoa, I was like, I already put up 5 videos. I wasn't planning really to do any more video, but if you guys want more videos, I guess I'll make some more videos. Yeah. Again, my audience always telling me what to do, because I'm like, you guys want more videos? Okay. I guess we're doing more videos.
Right. Yeah. I love it. So, I mean, I'm assuming you were like me in that you didn't have any video experience. And so it was like just trial by fire. You just like, all right, let's kind of figure this out and see how to put this all together and edit video. What? I mean, I had to learn everything. And it was everything. Everything.
Yeah. And everything from scratch. I think my first video was recorded on like an iPhone 7 or 8. And I had my headphones in, my little microphone. I did get my nails done. I did do that at least.
That is key.
Yeah, so important. I'm telling you.
So important.
And I did get my nails done, and I made myself a script. And that's one thing that I'm really grateful that I did, like right off the bat, is I made myself a script of what I wanted to cover to make sure the video wasn't too long. Now that first video is still an hour long, but the way that I look at it is I'm teaching a brand new concept from scratch. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, if it takes an hour, like just imagine if you were taking a course in real life.
That's right.
You were learning to knit and crochet, that class would probably be 2 or 3 hours.
That's right.
So teaching this whole concept in an hour on YouTube felt right. And I covered everything, and that video still gets a lot of really great attention and some awesome comments from people who are learning it for the first time. So I'm really proud of it. And over the years, because that first video was in 2017, and over the years, I'm like, oh man, I should like redo this video and re-release it. But I'm like, you know what? It's fine. And people get what they need out of it. So I'll just leave it where it's at.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love it. So we have this lucrative, really great YouTube channel that's really coming through, doing strong. You have a great library of patterns that are coming out. And then I've seen you on television. So talk to me about how that came to be, because that's exciting. I filled in for Robin Chichula one year, and it's always so exciting to go and be a part of all of that.
Oh my gosh, that was like bucket list, pie in the sky type experience. So I first got exposed to the Annie's company probably a year or so before I did Knit and Crochet Now. I actually did a series of video content with them for their Annie's Creative Studio program. So that's kind of where I started working with them, and they found me from YouTube. So again, to people who want to kind of build on these opportunities, when you show up on a platform, people are going to find you. And if your content is good, they're going to reach out to work with you.
Yeah.
So they found me on YouTube, and they're like, hey, we've got kind of a similar type platform where you're teaching specific things, patterns, stitches, that kind of stuff. So I did that with them for like a good year. And then the producer for Knit and Crochet Now was like, hey, we're looking for another crochet. Are you interested? And I went back and forth on that decision for weeks. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I can't be in front of a camera. I can't be on a set. I can't be on television. I was terrified, Marley. I'm not kidding. I was so scared, because I was like, with all of my YouTube videos, it was recording my hands. Like I had barely ever recorded my face.
Really?
And I never showed up in that way. Like this was probably before things got really heavy, even with Instagram Live. My Facebook group wasn't even established yet. Like I just didn't show up as myself, like with my face much. So this was a huge decision to make. And I solicited a lot of feedback. I asked my mom, I asked my husband, I asked my best friend. I'm like, can I do this? Like, am I gonna be good at this? And they're like, you know what? You don't know till you try. And Annie's as a company has always been my champion and always very encouraging. And they're like, we're gonna give you every resource you need to be good at this. And they did, and it turned out well. So that first season was awesome. Second season, I think just went live last month, depending on like what market you're in. So that was really exciting. So Knit and Crochet Now has happened, and just the filming process is so fun and interesting to see, like kind of like what a professional like recording situation is like. And I feel like I've learned so much. And I love when I get emails from people who are like, hey, I just saw you on Knit and Crochet Now. You did such a good job. And I'm like, thanks. But I will say, I still can't bring myself to watch them. I can't watch them because I feel like there's something like about hearing your own voice back to you or seeing yourself on screen. It's just, I can't connect it. I can't do it.
Wow, that's so cool. I love that story. I wouldn't, because I have been the face, you know what I mean? I've always been, and it wasn't like, I had somebody tell me once that it was an ego thing. I was like, no, that's not it. It's that I watched somebody else's video once where I actually got to see their face as they were talking about. I'm like, oh, I really like that because it made me connect.
You do. You definitely do.
Yeah. And so I wouldn't have thought about that in the way you thought about it, but that makes total sense that it's just like, is that the next step I want to take? You know, do I really want to because it is like, once you put yourself out there.
Yeah. You're out there now.
You're out there, scrutiny and all. And people are not shy about telling you what they think.
They are not shy. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that once I did start putting myself out there and showing up as myself and not apologizing for showing up as myself, like people really, they were super encouraging. I'm so grateful for the audience that I've been able to kind of cultivate here, and people, for the most part, people are really nice. Sometimes people are jerks, and that seems to shine brighter than the people who are nice. But like numbers wise, most people are very nice. And especially if you're showing up creating great content, like they're awesome. They're awesome.
That's awesome. So if you were to think of your business and you yourself as a designer and everything, and think of where somebody were to say TL Yarncraft, oh yeah, that's the company, what would you want them to say? Like, that's the company, like, oh, they have really great designs. They have really great videos. They have, oh, she's so much fun. Like, what would be the one thing that you would think about?
I would hope that at the very top of the list of what TL Yarncrafts is I want it to be the place where people can feel comfortable and encouraged and empowered to learn something new. Okay. I think sometimes learning craft or graduating to that next level of pattern can be really intimidating. And I want to take away all of those barriers. I want to show you how you can take what ends up being a very simple pattern and make it your own. So playing around with different yarns, understanding your tools, really kind of getting a better understanding of stitching and shaping and all that kind of stuff, but in a way that doesn't feel too big, that doesn't feel too outside of your range. Right. And that's what I want TL Yarncrafts to be. I just want it to be that approachable, welcoming, encouraging environment for you to learn.
I love that. I love that. Well, we have a lot of people listening live today, and they have been like listing questions over here. I've been trying to kind of pay attention at the corner of my eye. So let's take a look at some of them. And they're all saying hello. Very excited to have you on the podcast. Many of them are like, they love you. They're just like, yes, I love hearing from Toni. Angela Reeves says, Toni is the best. Such great explanations and patterns. I love your choice to invite TL Yarn, Marley Bird. Oh, okay. You're welcome. I was very excited about it. Let's see here. People are talking about they want to check out your patterns. Lisa says she is working on your Daphne Afghan right now.
Yes. Oh,
so the
such a good one.
Daphne, you want to talk to us about the Daphne Afghan?
Oh, I would love to. I would
Yeah.
love to. Daphne and I, like, she lives in my heart. I love that one.
Okay.
So
I'm
the
trying to look
Daphne,
it up on Ravelry. Oh, there it is. Ooh, that's beautiful.
isn't it fun? So the Daphne Afghan is by far one of my favorite patterns I've come out with in 2020. And I know we're only halfway through, but like this one's a stunner. So the Daphne Afghan uses a mix of a solid color and then like a color changing yarn. So in this case, I use Lion Brand Mandala Ombre. And you create 4 triangles, and then you seam the triangles together into a square baby blanket. And then it's got this really cute border on it that looks like little baby clouds. And yeah, it works up super fast, beginner friendly. There's a tutorial video for it. There's a kit from Lion Brand. Like there are literally no barriers to entry on this pattern.
That's great.
And I love it because everybody who's made it kind of puts their own spin on it. So switching out even just the color changing cake changes the whole vibe of the blanket.
Oh yeah.
And it's one of those it's just so easy and so fun, and the construction is really interesting, which is always something that I try to do on my patterns. It's like, let's like tweak one little thing to make it to kind of have that mental shift of how a project can come together. And that's really achieved in the Daphne Afghan.
That's cool. That's cool. It's very pretty. Let's see here. I'm trying to scroll through quickly. A lot of them, they're all waving to each other. They all know each other. Let's see. Zoed Vega, I think is how you say your name. And she says, yes, I agree. From the designer and one that her fans may suggest make you feel involved. So she's talking about the designer collaboration essentially with the fans. Let's see. Hello from Texas, Toni and Marley making Toni's Bronwyn shawl right now, and it's turning out beautiful.
Another good one.
A lot of people. Doesn't that make you feel good? People are making your designs. Like
there's nothing like it. And I'm sure you feel this too. It's like, and one of the things that really like hits me right in the feels is when people go to a design that's maybe 2, 3, or 4 years old, and they're like, oh my gosh, I love this so much. I'm like, oh, I loved that one too. And I don't get a chance to talk about it anymore because it's older. I got to talk about new stuff. But like the Bronwyn shawl is one I think came out early last year. I did in collaboration with Furls. And that's another one that's like tutorial video, free pattern. It's a lot easier than it looks. And I love taking people through that journey to be like, you can make this, even with just a little bit of crochet skills, you can make this beautiful thing that you can cherish forever. Like that was, the Bronwyn shawl has fond memories.
I love that. I love that. Let's see here. So the Crafty Sunshine says, loving this, you're giving her the courage to try her hand at designing.
Awesome.
Penny Herbert says, I appreciate videos that take the time to show you how to do and make something. And I know that for myself, like, so I will have videos that are longer videos because I really feel like it's important to not just show somebody what to do, but also explain to them why they're doing it, because then they understand better. So like I'm in the process, I'm doing this sock along with Ron, right?
Yes.
And he's doing the crochet sock, I'm doing the knit sock. We're having a great time, but he and I both last night were having a discussion online, like we're talking over FaceTime or whatever. And we're just like, how much information do we give? Or, because you get those people who just want the wham bam to show me what I'm doing.
Right. Yep.
And so the discussion went to, this is a sock along. This is a class. We're teaching them. So my video is going to be longer because it's like, we're doing the German short row, but I'm going to explain to you, what is a short row? Why do these measurements count? Why did you stop on the foot this much shorter? And why is it different for the different sizes? Where does that number come from? Because I know for myself, once I understand that stuff, I'm a better knitter future because I can make decisions based on pattern base, right?
Exactly.
Do you do the same thing? Like, is that kind of how you it's like, it's teaching. It's not just this.
It is. And I think that's such a great way to put it, because there's like, when I put out a pattern, those are the instructions. And if you're comfortable with crocheting, you can grab that pattern and you can go at your own pace. But there's a huge group of people that have been doing different techniques and things in crochet and knitting for a long time, but they don't know why. They don't know why Tunisian crochet curls. They don't know why you slip the first stitch when you're knitting to help with the edges. Like they don't understand the concepts. So they don't understand the importance, and they don't maybe know how to transition that technique into another pattern. Right. So by teaching and going that extra step, saying, I'm going to do this video, I'm going to explain this to you, so then you can take these skills and be a better crocheter. Like, I'm passing this bit of the torch off to you.
Right.
I think is so important. And I think that's why it's so meaningful to have folks like us in this industry to educate, because there are designers, and even myself as a designer have often felt a little bit territorial or a little bit selfish with some of the knowledge that I have, because I'm like, well, if I give this all away, will people just go design their own things and stop buying my patterns? The answer is no, by the way, if anybody's wondering. Yeah. Because there will always be people who don't want to design, don't have the capacity, don't want to, and they'll want to learn, and they'll continue to want to buy patterns. So there's nothing but benefit from sharing that kind of knowledge. And I think it's so important. And I'm so glad there's so many teachers like us out there doing that.
Yeah, I think it also goes to the point of, so you're sharing your knowledge and you're like, oh, but I'm giving it away. So it's also a right if there are several different YouTubers that have taught the same subject. Absolutely. Everybody has their own teaching style. And I learned something a long time ago. I don't remember who told it to me, but they said that on average, it takes somebody hearing something 7 times before they learn it. So it could be that somebody comes to me to learn German short rows the first time and they're like, this lady's a quack. I don't know what she's doing. I don't understand, right? And so maybe they go to like several different other designers, and then it's whatever that last one that they go to, they're like, oh, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes, that designer might be good, or that teacher might be good and might have really just gotten through, but it's the collaboration of everything you've already learned, and all of a sudden it's clicking for you. So having a lot of different YouTubers, I'm going to just pick on YouTubers that you follow, even though they might have shown the exact same pattern, the exact same skill, each of them have their own take and their own style. And so it's important that we all offer that out there to everybody. So I think that's very important. I
completely agree. And the way that I see it, honestly, like you said, you've been in this since about 2007. I didn't get 100% into designing until about 2016 or 2017. Yeah. So you've got 10 years of content that I'm finally getting to. Yeah. So if you think about it that way too, you might make a piece of content in 2020, and there might be somebody who doesn't even see it until 2030. You know, so you're creating this platform of content that lives evergreen, and somebody might look at your content and be like, oh, everybody knows that. And then somebody might look at it a couple years later and be like, I had no idea. I've never seen this before. So and I always encourage people who are trying to get into YouTube or trying to get into just teaching in general, like, definitely do it. Because your style is going to be different than somebody else's. The things that pique your interest or the things that you're good at teaching are going to be different than somebody else's. And there's no downside to making content on YouTube. It doesn't cost you anything. You don't lose anything. Like, just put it up there and see how it goes.
Absolutely. Diana says, I love Toni. I've been following her for a while, and I made a few of her Tunisian crochet projects. Also, not so nice to have an Ohioan teaching crochet and Tunisian crochet. Can I just say that I'm an Ohio State fan and my husband is a Michigan fan. So we are a house divided. And I'm Ohio State fan because I absolutely despise Michigan. Like, it's a long history there. But whenever I come to Columbus, I usually will go to Walmart and buy an Ohio State shirt.
Oh, yeah.
So that way I can wear it at home. And the funny thing, my husband does the laundry. So then he has to do it in the laundry. All of a sudden it just disappears. So he just throws it out. It's really quite comical.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Let's see here. Pattern tutorials are motivational when it comes to having a sense of gratification and completing projects. Yeah. I know how hard it is to work, but we are so appreciative of your end. Keeps you away from UFOs. So I think, not entirely sure how
I think she's just saying, like, having the tutorial videos helps her actually finish the project.
I got it. Okay, I get that.
It's true.
Definitely. So Craft A says, love how the shareability of content and skills seems to be securing the popularity of yarny crafts. Yeah. Here's a question for you. So do you get this a lot? Like, people will be like, so what do you do for a living? Okay. Well, I kind of do a lot of different things. Well, you know what? So I start saying everything. And, whenever I say I'm a knit and crochet designer, they're like, you make money doing that? Like,
yep.
Really?
Yep.
Like, That's what it is. I get it all the time.
That's been my entire life, because before I got into designing and craft shows, I also worked in nonprofits. That's what I have my degree in. So I worked for a program that gave people access to dental care. I worked for a program that connected people to community resources. And people were like, so are you a volunteer? I'm like, no, I get a salary. I got benefits. I go into work. I have work clothes. Like, I'm at work, so I've gotten that my whole life. And I'm like, yeah, you can make money. Yes, this is a lucrative business. Like you can do well,
It's hard. It's a work. Yes, it's work.
And that's the thing. And I explain this to people because I feel like there's this transition, I think, that happened. And I don't know if it's kind of my generation or the generation before, like we were ingrained with the understanding through high school that you have to go to college to get a good job. That's how it works. And now we're getting to this place where we have all these creative careers, like the idea of creating content as your day job. Nobody was thinking about that like 2004, So this whole new industry of careers has been created, and people are looking at ways of how they can quit their day jobs or how they can come out of high school and not need to put themselves into debt with student loans and start their careers this way. But my one piece of advice for everybody, or my one takeaway with this, is you will never work so hard as you will when you work for yourself, especially in a creative industry.
Amen.
I like, even today, and I put it up in my stories, I was me and my husband kind of developed this ritual during quarantine where we wake up, get ourselves together, we have breakfast, and we sit for about an hour and watch a show. So usually when I transition out of the show, I have to go upstairs to my studio. He goes downstairs to his office. And today when I was transitioning, I was like writing on my to-do list. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have so much to do today. I have so much to do today. I don't know how I'm going to get any of this done. And then I was like, you know what? We got this. We're going to go upstairs and we're just going to start taking away at this to-do list. Like, I have to motivate myself because I'm like, and when I was working in an office, I'd go in, get a little work done, go check in with my sweet mate, be like, hey girl, how you doing? Let's take an hour-long break and go get some coffee. Like, no, you don't have time for those things no more. No more.
I have a planner, right? So I was like, I'm going to be organized. I'm going to get a planner. I started filling out everything, like my to-do list, my what I want to do list, my videos I want to do. Like, my list is huge, right? My planner has not moved from that date of May 11th. So because I'm like, oh, this is overwhelming. Like,
yes,
and I just started ticking off little things. I'm like, but it just gets over. And then I get irritable bowel because I'm like, I can't talk about it because I get real upset. So
and it's and like, and then it gets to the point where I'm like, I have so much to do that I don't do any of it. And I'm like, I'm going to go work on this project over here until I feel motivated to do the things that I have to do. It's tough. It's tough.
You just call me whenever you need some motivation. You call me. I'll start calling you. That's why I called Ron last night.
Today I quit.
Seriously. We all have to have those people. Like, I have my people that I will call, and I'm like, all right, talk me off the ledge because I'm about ready but you have to keep getting motivated, and that's the beauty of the online community and having our customers and such, is that they are motivating, right? It's like, I know that whenever the alongs that I do, the knit along or the crochet along or the mystery or whatever it is, like seeing their excitement of, oh, I can't wait till the next part. I'm like, all right, this is great. I could do this. Right. And then there's also that little part that's like, oh man, I really hope I don't F this up. You know what I mean?
Right. Like, you're like, oh my gosh, did I just overcommit like crazy?
Yes. It's good. So the online community is very motivating, but I think we all have to have our people, because this can be very isolating. We're in our own little pods. We aren't with a sweet mate, that we can just, tap, tap, tap. But at the same time, I mean, I use Facebook Messenger, is it Messenger? Whatever, where you can FaceTime them like constantly. Like, I have Lindsay from Erin Lee Bags. I'll just call her and be like, okay, what are you doing? Because I got to talk, or like Robin or Ron or Ellen, or, like, it's just like, I got to have these people, because one, they understand what we're going through. And I think that that's important, because I love my husband. My husband he's my best friend.
Sure. Yeah, they're great. Husbands are awesome, but they just don't have the perspective. They don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's important. So seriously, you can start calling me. Like you'd be
I
like,
will. I
all right,
will. I'm
we
gonna
need to
take you up
talk.
on that. Be like,
Yeah, you can.
Marley, today's not going great.
Absolutely. Like I would love that. I would love that. All right, so we have a couple other people here that wanted to say a couple things. Um somebody said something earlier and I was going to go back. Penny Herbert says, I'm retired now, but I would love to do what you guys do back when I was younger.
Mm.
Stephen Burse says, watching YouTubers like you and Toni has encouraged me to work on putting together a crochet collection this fall. I'm grateful and excited. Fantastic.
I love it. I
That's
love it.
awesome. I love that. So people are they're just very excited about you, your craft, what you're doing, your YouTube channel, your Etsy presence, Instagram presence, your like everything you're doing.
Thank
I
you.
mean, what's the next step for you? What do you foresee in your future? I mean, it feels like you've worked with a lot of different companies in a lot of different ways. I shouldn't say a lot of different companies, but you've done a lot of different things in a short period of time, which is fantastic. Like absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
What's the future hold?
So right now I've been putting a lot of energy into YouTube, upping that presence and posting content on a regular basis. There's a lot of topics that I want to do series on, like even like crochet basics or granny squares. Like these are things that I have an interest in, I design with a lot, and people tend to have a lot of questions about.
Yep.
So definitely building up the YouTube presence. I love doing collaborations, working with different yarn companies, working with brands outside of the yarn, like yarnosphere or whatever. I really enjoy doing that. And I think too, just continuing to build my skills. One of the things that I love most about being a designer is being just a constant student and learning new stitches, learning new techniques, playing around with different types of designs, kind of continuing to stretch myself so that I can keep my design portfolio fresh and interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, just focusing on those things. As far as the big things, just building up my blog, and I've been kind of flirting with the idea of writing a book. I don't know. We'll see. Just kind of just staying really flexible. Just stay super flexible. Yeah.
Love it. I love it. That's so great. So it's the time in the show that we give away a prize. And I know that you have something lovely to show everybody. And before you do you have a keyword for everybody to use?
I do. The keyword is Harper, Harper.
Harper, you're going to have to tell me the story behind that. But
Okay.
so if you are watching live right now in the chat, type the word Harper for a chance to win what Toni's going to tell us here in just a minute.
Yes. So what I am sharing today is my brand new Harper bucket bag. This is one of my latest patterns that I'm really proud of, and I'll pull it close because we've got regular crochet at the bottom, but the body of this is actually Tunisian crochet. So this is one of my first, thank you. This is one of my first projects that I've kind of combined the two techniques in this really kind of intricate way. Before I'll usually do like a Tunisian crochet body with like a regular crochet border or something, but this is like really bringing it all together. I really love this project because I got to use a yarn that's new to me. This is Lion Brand Rewind, and it's a really nice, super soft tape yarn that's just amazing. Because I was originally going to do this bag in raffia because that just makes sense for a summer bag, but Rewind is a great choice. So it's a drawstring bag. Here at the top, it's got nice long tassels with beads on them, but it's also got a strap that you can add. And there will be a tutorial video. And actually, this pattern is not even out yet. It doesn't come out until, oh gosh, don't ask me the date. Just know it's not out yet.
Comes out soon. That's my favorite date. Comes out soon.
It'll be out later this month, but I want to give a couple winners a sneak peek of it and an opportunity to make it ahead of time. So this is the Harper bucket bag. It's a crochet and Tunisian crochet kind of hybrid project, and I'm really excited to share it with folks.
I love that. I love that. All right. So we're going to pick one lucky winner who has typed Harper in the chat room. And those of you who are not watching live right now, you're catching it like on the replay. There's still a chance for you to win as well. So don't leave yet. I'm going to go over how you can win or you have a chance to win this lovely pattern. And so you tell me when to stop. When you do, wherever my mouse is, that person will be the winner.
Stop.
Okay, I stopped. Oop, it's moving. Jeanette. So my cursor stopped on Jeanette Mervaux. So I'm gonna type her name in here. Jeanette, Jeanette Mervaux, and say congratulations.
Congratulations, Jeanette.
Congrats. So I'm going to have her email Caitlin, and Caitlin, guys, usually gets back about within 72 hours of when your email arrives. And then she'll pass the information on to you. So email us, and it's winner@yarnthingpodcast.com. All right, cool. So congratulations, Jeanette Mervaux. Very cool. So she's going to win a copy of the pattern. When it's available, it will be sent out to you. And those of you who are not watching live, but so you're catching the replay, there's a chance for you to win as well. So Toni is giving up another pattern to somebody who leaves a comment on the show notes. So I am going to do a share screen here so that we can take a look at this. Okay, so this, you guys, right up here, this is the URL for today's podcast. These are the show notes. So this is in the video description box of the video, so you can find it down there. Click on that. It'll take you to this page. This page is essentially a summary, a brief summary of things about, look how cute you are.
I love those headshots.
You look adorable. So it talks a little bit about Toni. Obviously, these are images that you could share on your Instagram or on Pinterest or wherever it is that other people can find today's podcast. And then these are the links where you could follow Toni on social media. This will be this particular video will be linked right there. But then down here, see how I'm still scrolling, everybody? Right down here, I'm still scrolling, everybody. At the very end of the page, right down here where it says leave your comment, that's where you're going to leave a comment, include the word Harper, and we will randomly select a winner of this pattern. So you must leave your comment here on this page. I love your comments here on YouTube. That actually really helps us. Leaving comments, hitting that like button, making sure you subscribe. Those are great ways to financially support your favorite YouTuber. So without even giving any money, those are 3 ways you could do it. Another way is to watch the videos and don't bypass the ads. Like, that's how we make our money, y'all. So if you want to know, that's how it is. So we love your comments here. We love your comments on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. But to be able to be entered for a chance to win, you must leave your comment on the show notes. We like to have everything in one place, and it just makes it so much easier. Plus, it allows you to get to the page where you can find all the information about Toni that you need. So that's how you can be entered for a chance to win as well. And we will select a winner in it's usually about 2 to 3 weeks after the original air date to give you some time to catch up, because we know life is busy and not everybody's watching the podcast like right away. So it happens. I have truly enjoyed today's podcast, Toni. This was a great first date. I would absolutely call you up for a second date and more. I know, right? And we don't live that far apart from each other anymore, so we could just meet up. Like, we are not that far at all.
Yeah, I'd be down for that. We should.
As soon as this pandemic is over.
I know. Oh gosh,
so bad. I'm so over this. I'm just like.
It's like it's frustrating but understandable, but just everything in 2020 got canceled, just everything.
I know. My daughter graduated high school this year, so it has been
babe.
And it's not even just that, this total side note, we moved from Colorado to Indiana, so her senior year she switches high schools and then can't even have a graduation. She's like, this is the worst year of my life.
You're like, girl, tell me about it.
I understand. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I'm so sorry. Right. So but yeah, when this is all over and we can actually get together and be with people again, we should absolutely hook up. That would be so much fun.
Let's do it.
I love this. Thank you so much for being a part of the show today. You'll have to come back, especially if you have anything big going on, or if you just want to come back and chat and say, let's just catch up with what's happening in our community. I would love that. This has been so enjoyable.
And thank you for the invitation. This just completely made my day and put me off to a great start for the second half of my day. I appreciate it so much, Marley.
Oh, you're very welcome. All right, everybody, that's it from us today. Make sure that you have hit subscribe to the Marley Bird YouTube channel. Check out TL Yarn Crafts over on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, all the different places. Again, just click on the show notes. You saw where I showed you there's links. Everything that you need are all available right there. I will talk to all of you again very soon. Don't forget that the sock along video will be live tomorrow for part 2. I already gave you we're doing the German short rows, guys. I'm going to really go over it. So here we go. And Ron is going over the gusset and the heel. It's packed full of information, so you don't want to miss out. All right, guys. Bye.